The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, you know who I am. And you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Watching us right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How is everybody tonight?
On tonight's episode, I am going to make Old Boy's Day. We are going to do a show that Old Boy has been wanting to do for like 7 freaking years. I mean, this dude at least once a month, he's like, hey, we ought to do a show about Antarctica. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do Antarctica. There's a lot of shit to Antarctica, okay? So instead of trying to get like super detailed on every little thing about it, there's just no way. It'll be like a 5-hour show. What I'm going to do is we're going to go over some of the major conspiracy theories, paranormal theories, whatever you want to call it, about Antarctica, because there's a hell of a lot of them. And we'll kind of weigh in, give our 2 cents on each one, and then move to the next one. I think that's a good way to do it. So we'll be going back and forth a lot during this show, but we'll try to hit most of them. So let's start the first one. Let's start with Admiral Byrd. There's this dude named Admiral Byrd who supposedly flew a plane up there looking around and shit and found a hole in the earth and went into it, and he found a whole big hollow earth kingdom underneath the earth, or inside the earth, actually. It's called the Hollow Earth Theory. We did an entire episode of Staring on the Hollow Earth Theory. If y'all want to see like great detail on it, then you can go to the YouTube page, youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. If you're listening on the radio, shameless plug, numero uno. And you can check out that episode for yourself. It's like an hour long, and it's got tons of detail. But the basic story is he's a well-respected guy. He's not some yahoo. He went up there and supposedly he found the entrance to the hollow earth, flew into it, and saw all kinds of crazy shit. Supposedly there's like prehistoric dinosaur-like creatures down there. You also have theories about the reptilians living down in the hollow earth. And you have theories about aliens living down in the hollow earth. And that's where all these spaceships are coming from. They're flying out of that entrance to hollow earth and then coming up and flying around the planet and all that kind of stuff. So that's the first theory we'll talk about tonight, is whether we believe that to be true, and if it's not true, what would be the purpose of all of that craziness. I think, first off, I don't think it's true at all. There's not a hollow earth, okay? The reason I say there's not a hollow earth is because it goes against every bit of scientific evidence that we actually have. I mean, we've drilled pretty far down into the earth, looking for oil and different minerals and stuff like that. We've got temperature readings from way down in the earth. Okay? There's not a hollow earth. There's no kingdom down there where dinosaurs live and reptilians live, because they would be literally living in molten lava. I mean, remember, volcanoes do exist. And what a volcano is basically a zit on the earth, if you want to think of it that way. You have these plates underneath the crust, right? Tectonic plates, and they're moving on this layer of magma. Sometimes they meet, and one goes under and one goes over, okay? When that happens, you'll get something that gets pushed up, earth that gets pushed up, can form a volcano. If there's a tube leading down, they call it a lava tube, down into the magma, and enough pressure builds up, that sucker will blow, okay? If there was a a kingdom underneath the earth full of dinosaurs and lizard people and all that bullshit, they would literally be wading through magma in some spots. I just don't believe it. It doesn't jive with the actual science. Okay, so I don't believe Hollow Earth to be true. I think the reason why they put reptilians there, the reason why when people are talking about reptilians, a lot of times they'll say that they live in the Hollow Earth and they come out from there. And some people say they're aliens. Some people say that they're the Earth's first inhabitants and that we came later. Some people say that that's what dinosaurs turned into. There's a lot of different weird theories about reptilians too. But I think the reason people put that in Antarctica is because it's not very easy for you to go check. You know, when you're talking about something crazy, you have to put it out of reach so that people can't actually go check. You know. Now you can go to Antarctica. Don't get that twisted. You can absolutely go to Antarctica if you want to. It's not like banned like they say and all that bullshit. They say you're not allowed to go. That's not true. There's a research station up there that you can literally apply for a job online at the research station in Antarctica, get the job, and fly there and go to work. I mean, you can go to Antarctica. It's not forbidden. We'll get into that a little bit later. That theory. That's a doozy too. But the reason people put them there is because it's not that many people go there. So it's a convenient place to kind of stuff them away down in a hole to where, oh, well, you could see them if only you flew to Antarctica and found the entrance to the Hollow Earth. But you might not be able to find it because it's camouflaged or they use cloaking technology. Or there's a bunch of bullshit. So I don't believe that any of that stuff is true. I think that it's all nonsense. You know, I don't know what Admiral Byrd saw. I don't know why he would make that up because he was a respected guy. But I just can't imagine that could possibly be true. Just because it doesn't work, you know. Now, is there maybe some like canyon or something, like a hole, like a valley that's surrounded by mountains in Antarctica somewhere that is maybe a little hot spot, has like a geothermal pool or something that's radiating heat up, and maybe it's a little bit greener than the rest of it, and maybe you have some remnants from the dinosaur age that are still alive there. That might be a possibility. But I don't believe at all that there's some entrance down a tunnel and then the inside of the earth is hollow and there's a whole other world in there. I don't believe that at all. I think that's nonsense. If there is anything that he saw, I think it was probably a valley. I live in a valley with mountains all around me, you know. So like a storm will come in, and if it makes it into the bowl, it stays for a while and it bounces around and it really does a doozy on us. But a lot of storms will get broken up by the mountains and it won't be anywhere near as severe when they come through. So, I mean, it literally looks like a bowl. You got mountains all the way around it and you're down here living in the valley. Now, I don't live down here in the valley. I live way up here, like where the mountains are. I'm up here in the mountains. Down here's the valley, but you got to go down into the valley to get to town. If you want to actually shop or do anything, you got to go down into the valley. But I live up higher in the mountain because I don't want to be around people. I like to be out on my own with the wilderness and the trees and the woods and shit. I don't like a bunch of neighbors. I don't like a bunch of people all over me. So I don't live there. But that's my view on it. That's what I think. So I'll throw it to Old Boy real quick and we'll get his opinion on this one. And then when he's done, we'll move on to the next one. So Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Happy day after almost 8 years. I finally get to do this show. And you know what's good? We did it because it gave us something new. I mean, we do everything new, but it gave us something we haven't done, and there's all plenty of it. Now what I think is with the hollow earth theory, like he was talking, no, I don't. I believe the same thing. There's magma. I had to say it like Dr. Evil. Hot liquid magma. A lot of people, I can do that voice pretty well, but no, I don't believe that. Now, there is a chance that maybe with the reptilian thing, if they do exist, maybe they found a way to live inside that area somewhere down there. Maybe not like it's a like they have dinosaurs and shit there. That's more of a possibility than there's like an island in the middle of the fucking world and in the middle of there, and there's dinosaurs down there. If reptilians do exist, maybe they have a base down there or something. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that's the only theory that more makes sense than there's this thing, go down there. There's a whole like Godzilla. You guys watch King Kong versus Godzilla, the outer Earth. That's pretty much what it is. It's in the center of the Earth. There's like a it takes you to a time. It's like a time portable. What do you think about that, James? After I'm done with this. Do you think maybe that's why we don't see it? Because maybe if you go in a certain area, like the Bermuda Triangle, when you go down, it takes you into another dimension. I know you've seen Godzilla and King Kong. Do you think that might be a possibility of that could be that's the reason we're not seeing it, because they're on another realm or another reality? That maybe is that a better possibility of why people think there would be like a whole nother world down there? I mean, maybe that's what could be. I could see that reality is that like you go down there, like and you hit this spot where it takes you into the other side of the earth, and like another reality, basically, like another dimension, more than reality, another dimension. I could see maybe that, and I don't really believe that. I'm just saying that's more of a possibility of done. This is in the middle of it. I don't believe it. I know a lot of people say a lot of stuff about Antarctica, especially on great old TikTok. That every week it's something new with TikTok, so we know that. But I see something about Antarctica, like, oh, look at me, I'm floating in this cave. It's in between Antarctica. Now go in it, and then I just went through the hollow Earth, and it looked like Godzilla's thing. The moon's upside down, and Saturn's on there. I was like, it's hilarious because it makes me laugh because it's not like that. How do we know if like you go into there's these people say they'll walk out of time. What's that mean is like you'll like the Matrix, how it freezes, and then you'll see it and it blurps and it like a rerun and comes back. And there's people that say that they've walked outside of their house and it was dark and walked back in and it was light and they hit a dimension. Maybe that's what maybe it is. Maybe this reality, like me and James have been talking about, maybe this reality we're in right now changed 20 years ago, and that's why everything's so upside down and fucking crazy. And it went opposite to what it used to be. It could be the truth that everything was. They mess with time all the time, but maybe Antarctica is that possibility. Maybe there's something there we don't know. I'm not saying down in the hollow Earth. I have my opinions on that shit. But do you remember the children were found in the old hole there? I forget what country it was, but I think they were either green or blue. I think it was green or blue or something. They came out and they said a whole nother land was out there. So that did happen. We did a show about that. Now I don't know if that's the truth. There's opinions on that, but it's a possibility. But that wasn't in Antarctica. I think maybe that I believe what James is saying more than anything. I believe that maybe that there is just lava down there. There isn't really nothing going on down there in the hollow Earth. Now, Antarctica, there's so many stories of crab demons and giant 17-foot weird-looking creatures that Russia had found, and this big giant ocean part of it's like a lake, but it's not, and they're living down there, and Vladimir Putin knows them, and I don't know if you've seen, but Elon Musk has been saying a lot of stuff about Antarctica, and he said that there's another part of the ocean that they're not telling us. So why would he talk about this stuff where people are going to think he's an idiot? I mean, he's been saying a lot of shit. I sent James some stuff about all this. He even says there's another realm. And if he has the most money and he's going to go to Mars, he's pushing it. Why wouldn't he know this stuff? Why would he say all this stuff on Rogan's show? Because that's what he said, especially in Antarctica, that there is stuff there. They do have dinosaurs. But who said it had to be that we didn't make it, or we've known about it? We just don't. No one really knows. You can go to Antarctica, like James said, but there is certain parts you can't go to. It's way too cold, but if you go there, it's fucking freezing there. It's not going to be something you want to see. maybe they do have stuff they don't want you to see. Maybe that they are dealing stuff. But the problem is everybody wants to go over there now. Russia, China, and everybody has people over there. So maybe there is something going on. Maybe there is some kind of spooky stuff that we don't know of. Maybe some aliens, some crab monsters. That one's the funniest. The crab lake monsters are case they were fighting off over there, and I was laughing about this. There's a lot of shit that's being said about Antarctica. You know, they want to put the mammoths over in Antarctica. Why? Why would you want to put the woolly mammoths in Siberia, but over there? I mean, I know the climate, but why would you want to put them there in Antarctica? There's nothing there. There's like some, but you would have to make a whole new species of creatures for them. Also on top of it, because they want to play saber-toothed tigers. And I get it. They want to make another, you know, like the Ice Age. They want to make creatures like that. But why? There's no point. It's not going to be the real woolly mammoth, like James said. It's going to be a hybrid. It just gets turned into a close cousin. It's never going to be the same thing. But why would you want to bring those back? Like I told people, I would love to see it. But and in this other sense, there's no need for it. They were here. They went extinct. But were a lot of the reasons they did. Remember that. So my personal opinion is there's nothing really going on in the center of the earth, but I think there's a lot of shit going on there. I don't believe half the stuff I see. Like there's no caves and people are seeing they fly over and there's a jungle and palm trees right next to that. Doesn't work. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. Now, maybe there's parts of the world we haven't seen. I don't think they tell us the truth on everything. I think they hide stuff they don't want us to know about. And Elon Musk said they do. There's another ocean. There's another lands. That could be a possibility. I believe that more than anything in the center of the earth. Just like the flat earth theory. That's a whole nother one we don't want to talk about. But my opinion is pretty much, I'm going to agree with James. I pretty much agree with him. It's probably bullshit.
All right, well, since you brought that up, I was going to do that one later in the show, but you don't focus on one thing. You like ramble about a million different things, so you like hit up several of the theories we're going to talk about. So let's do flat Earth next, since you just talked about that. That's another one of these Antarctica conspiracy theories, that there's an ice wall surrounding Antarctica that keeps everybody from noticing that the world is flat or some such nonsense. That's a fucking ridiculous one too. I'll say right away that one's horseshit because, like I said, you can literally go there and you can see that the Earth is not flat. It's not complicated. You know what I mean? You can go there and see that there's no giant ice wall that surrounds it that keeps everything from falling off the end of the Earth. It's nonsense. But I want to say also about the mantle and the hollow Earth thing, and to close that off real quick. I want everybody to understand what we're talking about when we say there's magma down there and lava down there. We don't mean right underneath the surface. Okay, it's in most places it's really deep. You've got to dig for quite a while. So it's not like we're saying that if you go down in a cave, shit, you're going to fall in lava. Some places on the planet that's true. You know, in volcanic regions, it is true that you can do that. But in most places, it's you can dig for quite a while before you ever hit it. So it's not like it's right at the surface there in Antarctica. But what I'm saying is the hollow Earth theory, remember, it's that there's this hole that you can go down into, and there's a whole nother world down there where you have forests and jungles and dinosaurs and all kinds of crazy shit. Now, first of all, it would be dark as fuck. How is it illuminated? There's a sun? Is that what you crazy fuckers are trying to tell me? There's a sun inside the Earth that's shining, that makes a blue sky and the whole fucking night? Is that what you're trying to say? That's nonsense. Come on, you fucking know that's nonsense. You know, it's bullshit. Just like the whole Earth is flat thing is fucking stupid. Why would every other celestial body in the entire fucking universe be round? Now, I got to be careful when I say round, because they're going to say, well, you know, it's not perfectly round. It's circular. It fucking looks like this, like a ball. Why the fuck would every single celestial body in the entire fucking universe look like a ball? Except for the Earth. It looks like a pizza pie for some reason. Why? That's fucking retarded. It doesn't make any sense. Who in their right mind says, yeah, that's it. The Earth is flat and there's an ice wall surrounding Antarctica, and the government won't let us go there. You know, I'm not even going to bother like throwing over to Old Boy for this one because he agrees 100% the Earth is not flat. It's stupid. So we're going to move to the next one. I just wanted to cover that one quickly because he had just got done talking about it. The next one is about Adolf Hitler and the fact that after World War II, when he died, right? Notice I fucking did that. He supposedly he died in Berlin in his bunker, and they came in and they shot his ass, or they found him already dead. He shot himself, and they found his dead body, and the Nazis had burned it, and that supposedly was what happened to Hitler. But the theory is that Hitler actually escaped, and him and a bunch of the Nazis went to Antarctica, and they set up Nazi bases in Antarctica, and there's some kind of Third Reich ruling Antarctica as we speak. That's the theory. That's also monumentally stupid. Simply because Antarctica is cold as hell. It sucks at Antarctica. Why the hell would they possibly want to go to Antarctica? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you go set up a base in Antarctica and hide out there? You know, did Hitler escape? I think so. I think that there is actually evidence of that. But there's the evidence points to him going to South America, to Argentina, and living there. There's people, eyewitness accounts of a man that looked exactly like Adolf Hitler, who spoke German during that time period after Hitler was supposedly killed. And all the way up to present day, there's been a lot of old Nazis from World War II that have been found to be living in Argentina. Okay, so the evidence points to Hitler, yes, escaping. Probably one of his body doubles he shot or something and burnt and pretended it was him so that he could make his escape and going down to Argentina and living out the rest of his days. You know, that's what the little bit of evidence that there is points to, if he didn't die in Germany at the end of World War II. You know, I'm not saying for sure that he didn't, but it's pretty compelling stuff. The evidence for it is fairly compelling. If it wasn't Hitler, then it was somebody who looked like him. It might have been one of his body doubles escaped and went to Argentina. I don't know. But I don't think that the Nazis were hanging out in Antarctica after World War II, and I don't think they set up some secret Nazi base where now they're trying to take over the world from Antarctica. That's just ridiculous. Mainly because, like I said, it's insanely cold there. And you got to remember, this is World War II time. This is the 1940s. Okay, it's not like today where you have technology that can heat you up and keep you safe. You know, I mean, you're talking old school, putting on heavy ass jackets and burning a wood stove, trying not to die. You know, and I don't know if you've noticed, but there's not a whole lot of forests in Antarctica to chop down to get wood to burn in a wood stove. And there's not a whole lot of coal to have a power plant where you can have electricity so that you can run any kind of electric heat and live. And I don't even know if electric heat existed back then. I don't know the history of electric heat, so I can't tell you for sure. But the majority of the time it was fireplaces and wood stoves back in that time period. And they just don't have the stuff to burn there to keep warm. So how the hell would they survive there long term? It just doesn't make sense, you know? So that's my ruling on that one. I think that one's horse shit too. So I'll throw it back over to Old Boy and see what he thinks about the Nazis in Antarctica.
First off, just so people know, is I have ADHD, so I get excited, so I'll start talking, and my mind works that way, so I'll talk about 20 different things, and it's something I've always done. So that's just how I am. I talk fast too, so I'll think of something, and then something else will pop into my mind. It's like you have 20,000 thoughts, and you have to only can talk one or two things, and in my mind it never stops thinking. And I apologize sometimes because I get excited and it interests me. No, I do not believe that there's a base with Hitler. I do believe that Hitler did go to Argentina, and there's a big possibility. And I do. That's a show we should do there. You just set up another show. down the line we haven't done about did Hitler survive? You know, I know that could be a show down the line. There we go. No, he didn't. There's no, go ahead.
We did that show already, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Did we? I thought it was about a doctor. It didn't have to do with Hitler. Oh.
No, we did it. It was about Hitler going to Argentina. It was all the evidence for it. We showed it on the show, everything. It was actually your idea.
You know what? That was 6 years ago. So I probably 6-7 years ago. So I forgot. We've done 300 something shows, guys. We've done so many. Sorry, I apologize. No, I totally agree with James again. This is another one we could totally agree. Hitler didn't. There's also said, remember the Stalin thing? That Stalin was setting up bases over there, and you forgot about that part. But I don't believe that either. I don't believe it. He's hiding in bunkers down there. I think Russia wants to do that eventually, but I don't think Germany's there and Hitler survived. If he did, he went to Argentina, and I think that's just 100%. I have to agree with James on this. But there's nothing else. I don't know why would anybody have these fucking theories, man. Some of them are crazy as fuck. Why would you go there of all places? It just wouldn't make any fucking sense. It's cold as shit. It's too, Argentina, you snuck over, you got away. And I don't, like James said, I don't think he killed himself. He allegedly killed himself. I think he escaped. And people can say whatever they want. Well, they have his body. They proved it. Well, who said that? Who proved it? We don't know. They could say they killed somebody and never met, and they just said, oh, it looks like that. They just didn't want to go anywhere on it and leave it alone at that. You never know what happens, but we'll leave that conspiracies for another show. But there you go. I agree with you, James.
You also got to keep in mind that we're talking the 1940s again. So that's before DNA. So how would you identify the body anyway? It's burnt. You have no fingerprints. You have no DNA, maybe dental records, maybe. You know what I mean? If that was even a thing back then. So it would have been hard as hell to identify the body anyway, in my opinion. But yeah, I wasn't giving you any shit about going a bunch of different directions. I was just explaining to the audience that that's what you do. I've known you long enough. I know that's what you do. Okay, the next one, this is a fun one. Antarctica was once a lush tropical paradise with gigantic pyramids like ancient Egypt had, and fertile valleys where they grew a shit ton of crops and had a massive population. That's the theory. That's another conspiracy theory we're going to talk about. Now, this one sounds ridiculous as well, but here's the cool thing. This one's actually 100% true. They have found fossils there of not only tropical plant life, but tropical animal species. They've even found pyramids in Antarctica that look a lot like the pyramids that the Egyptians used, like the Aztecs used, like China used. A lot of places around the world had the same type of pyramids. Little variations in the style, but the same basic construction. And Antarctica had them too. So the theory is that the science theory, right? The scientific theory, not the conspiracy theory. The scientific theory is that at one point in the distant past, Antarctica was a lot warmer, and it was a tropical paradise, and a lot of fucking people lived there. And it was a big, big civilization there. Now, tied into this theory is the fact that Atlantis is actually there in Antarctica, and it's buried underneath the ice. Okay, that's tied in with this theory. Now, here's the problem. The first half of the theory, 100% true. Scientifically proven that, yes, it was a tropical place. Yes, it had pyramids. Yes, it was a large civilization there. That's proven, right? Second half about Atlantis is horseshit. The only reason we know about Atlantis is because of Plato's description of it. And Plato's description of Atlantis does not match what was supposedly in Antarctica. And another problem is, during Plato's time, Antarctica was still a frozen wasteland, right? It was way, way, way before Plato's time that it was a tropical paradise. So Plato went and saw Atlantis, according to him. So there's no way in hell that Plato went to Antarctica and saw Atlantis. It just didn't happen because it was a frozen wasteland back then. So it doesn't match the description that we know, the only description of Atlantis that we have, which is from Plato. Okay? Was there an ancient civilization there that is now buried under the ice? Yes, absolutely there was. Was it Atlantis? Probably not, unless Plato was full of shit. Now, if Plato was full of shit and he was just talking about a civilization that he had heard about from the history books of an ancient civilization and called it Atlantis, then that could be the case. But in that case, he was totally full of shit because he gave a description of it. He said where it was, but it was in between the Pillars of Hercules, which that puts it down in the area of Greece and all that. That's nowhere near fucking Antarctica. Okay, so either it was a completely different ancient civilization that was in Antarctica, which I think is the case, or Plato was absolutely full of shit and making stuff up about an ancient civilization that he read about, and he just decided to make up this story about it. Those are the options, right? And I don't think that's the case. I think we're talking here about two separate ancient civilizations. Now, here's a fun little idea. What if the advanced civilization that was in Antarctica way back then, when it was a lush tropical paradise, later moved on when it started getting cold there, moved further to the south, ended up in the Greek area, right? All of that area where all of those, like the Spartans and the Greeks and Peloponnesians, all them fuckers, right? Down in that area. What if they ended up going there, building Atlantis, and then ended up losing Atlantis because of volcanic eruption or something? That's one of the theories of what happened to Atlantis. I don't want to get too deep into Atlantis, but wouldn't that be an interesting idea that ancient civilization moved on from Antarctica because it was so damn cold? It was getting cold there, and the climate was changed, and they're like, we can't fucking survive here anymore. We got to get the hell out of here. So they went down someplace nice and warm and wonderful, and then all hell broke loose, and they had a natural disaster and ended up destroying their city. And maybe that's what Plato saw. You know, and maybe that's how the two might have got connected. There's one thing for sure. Antarctica would be the oldest of all of these civilizations with the pyramids. Okay? Antarctica was occupied by people and civilization way before Egypt or the Aztecs or China or any of those places, right? Antarctica was first. Well, maybe not first, but first that we know of, as far back as we know. So if that's the case, maybe those same people that built that technology there moved on to other parts of the world when it got cold. And maybe that's why you have pyramids down in South America with the Aztecs. That's why you have pyramids in Asia and the Middle East with China and with Egypt, right? That's why you have all of these different spots on the planet that have these pyramids and these megaliths that are similar. Maybe it's because the root was the same civilization that started out in Antarctica. Could be. That's an interesting idea. I'll throw it to Old Boy and let him talk a little bit and see what he thinks.
Here's the crazy thing is, he must have been thinking, we think on the same wavelengths, because I was going to bring Antarctica up. That's so weird. And that's like fucking, there we go again. We're always on the same level. So that kind of threw a little bit of off what I was going to say. Here's one for you. And one thing I was going to say, how would Plato know Antarctica exists when they thought the world was flat and you would fall off the side? No, back then they thought the world was flat. Till Christopher Columbus they sailed and found out it wasn't. So I was going to ask you what you thought about that. That I was going to say about Plato, and you could say it after I'm done. But here's a thought. It might be biblical to you. Do you think Antarctica might have been Eden, and that's why it can't be livable? You could be there, but not Eden, and that's why you can't live there anymore. Because and this is crazy. Oh, he's the Satanist talking about God. No, it was a thought I was thinking while I was talking about it. That's why you can't be there, because it's there's weird things there because something's there you're not supposed to be there. Maybe that's where, or maybe where Satan fell, that's why nothing grows there. Maybe I'm just showing up to when the angels fell, maybe that's where they hit. I'm just throwing it that's why it's nothing grows there. Or it could be Eden. I think it would be more of Eden because it makes sense because there's weird things there and people see, with the pyramids and stuff like that. It could be. I mean, we don't know how. People think the world's millions of years. Some people think it's 10,000 years. Some people. I could tell you this. It doesn't really matter how old the world is. It doesn't prove anything. It just proves that the world's old or younger. That's it. And that's not a big deal in my opinion. That doesn't change the fact is what's really been going on in our past. Maybe we're just seeing stuff that we're barely seeing 5,000, but the world's a million years old and we're not even touched the surface. Maybe it's all in the ocean, down deep down in the ocean. And that's why we haven't found it because we can't go all the way down there yet. And then we might. Maybe there's even a bigger hole that we don't even know of. Maybe in Antarctica, there's a bigger hole we don't know of. That we'll find another civilization or we'll find Eden. People don't really know where Eden was. A lot of people think it's in the Middle East, but you don't know. I'm just throwing a theory. I'm not saying I'm no expert on this. I'm just saying something different. How do you know it's not? It isn't what happened with Eden. It would make sense. I believe Eden existed. I don't know what my opinion is on it. Doesn't mean it wasn't a place. Might have been a tropical place, like he was saying. And remember, all the places were together at one time. Antarctica could have split after that. Maybe that was the punishment. I'm going biblical on this. Maybe God split it off away from the world. Didn't want people to see it anymore. But now we're over there and we know some things exist and we're not telling anybody. I'm just showing you. I know this ain't I believe it. I'm just throwing out a crazy conspiracy theory. But it would make sense. No one wants to go to Antarctica for, other than, they tell us all this stuff about this, all this magical stuff going. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we're not meant to find out what's really under that snow. Maybe that's why there is so much damn snow everywhere. It's cold there. Remember, the colder it is, like if you got down in hell, and what people want to hear this, if hell existed and you go all the way down to the pit where the devil was, it's so evil and cold. It's hot, but it's cold. There's no light. It's just like being in the bottom ocean. It would be freezing. So it makes sense. I'm just throwing at people who say this is crazy, hearing it from old boy. Well, you know what? I'm not an idiot. I try to maybe throw something, a curveball to people out there. Can't get into that ice is all the way down. We don't know how far most of it goes. Yeah, they drilled and said it goes here and there. We don't know everything. We don't know what's going on over there. We just get told what we're told and that's it. Maybe they did find Eden there and they don't want us to know about it because they don't want people to go try to get something there. Maybe the fountain of youth. That's the other trees. Because remember, we ate the tree of knowledge, the tree of life. We would have ate that. We would have lived forever. Maybe that's what people are. Maybe that's why the Germans and all these Russians are all trying to go to Antarctica all of a sudden. Is maybe that they're trying to find the tree of life, or the tree of knowledge, and or they already know that. Not tree. There's other trees. So if you get the tree of life, you live forever. You become a god. I mean, I'm just throwing out weird, about Antarctica, but me and him were talking about how it could be a city of Atlantis. That blew it for me because that's what I was going to say. Maybe it is Eden, and maybe that's why nothing lives there, because you got vanished, and no one's supposed to be there anymore. And I'm just throwing a theory out there. I know James liked that one, so he can answer that for me in a minute. But it makes sense because everything was together before it split, all the continents. Maybe at that time, Antarctica was next to the Middle East and it split off from each other because God said, I don't want you to see this place anymore. And it's gone. And what he did is the perfect disguise is make snow everywhere. And no one will ever know. But humans don't know too well, and we do what we want, and we'll still find it. and I think that's something that we've always done, even with God and the devil, if you believe that we've surprised them and we don't give up. We'll damn near kill ourselves to find out the truth. And sometimes when you play with snakes, you're going to get bit, and that's what happens. We want to know everything, but we don't know, we can't handle it. But our knowledge is, we have to find out what it is. We have to find out everything. We'll never know everything. No one's going to ever know everything. But that's just how human beings are built. We'll never give up. You know what's crazy is, think about it. If God existed, he came down here to save your souls. You still killed them. I'm not saying everyone. I'm not saying the people now. We weren't around then. But people still didn't care and got to the point where they didn't want to hear about it and did what they always do. And something they don't understand, they destroy. And that's what we do. We do it with a lot of things. And that's why I try to tell people to think with an open mind. I know what I believe, but it doesn't mean I don't believe other things can exist. I could be wrong. Everybody could be wrong. You never know. I always keep my mind open because that's how you learn. You don't think one way, you change and you do other things, and you can find out things, and you open your horizon on your mind. So it was just a thought about that. I'm not trying to make it a, old boy's going this way. No, it was a thought to my head. If Eden existed, it might have been there, and that's why you can't go back there. It's just a thought, maybe it's another part of Egypt. Egypt had like you were saying, James, maybe it was a part of Atlantis, but it was another city that broke off, but they fell too after thousands of years or something. Maybe that was what happened, and they fell and it turned into ice, and we don't know what really happened. Plato could be full of shit. Everybody thought the world was flat then, so that's why I was going to say we don't really know. It's just Plato said where Atlantis was, but who said that was the only Atlantis? It could have been, they were supposed to be very intelligent. How do you know that was the only part of Atlantis? They could have had another city there. That could be another theory. I'm just throwing it out there, but I kind of agree with you, James, about the Atlantis thing. I don't think that is, but it was just another theory I was thinking about Eden.
All right, first let me answer the world is flat thing. Everybody thought the world was flat back then. That's actually not true. That's what people say. That's what they teach you in school, is that Columbus thought the world was flat, but he was trying to find a quicker way to China to get the spices, and he was going to risk it for the biscuit, basically. That's bullshit. He knew that the world wasn't flat. The majority of the scientific community at the time of Plato knew that the world was not flat. Galileo knew the world was not flat. So that idea that everybody thought the world was flat back then is actually not true. That's something that they teach you in school, but it's one of the many things in school they teach you that are absolute horseshit, that is just not true at all. So get that out of the way first. Okay, now, Eden. This is the beauty and the brilliance of Old Boy. This is why Old Boy is on the show and will always be on the show, right? Because just what he just did, that little momentary flash that he had in his brain, has now changed the topic of the show, changed the title of the show. I don't give a shit about the other theories anymore. Fuck the other theories. They don't matter. This theory matters, because check this out. He's right. All of the continents were one at one time in the ancient past. Now remember, in the ancient past is when the civilization was in Antarctica as well. So if you have them all connected, and Antarctica's down here now, so it would be here on the big uni-continent, right? And they all break apart. It very well could have been Eden. And that's why it's way far away now where nobody can find it, because God didn't want us to find it again. And think about what God said in the Bible about Eden after we got kicked out. It said that he placed an angel at the gate so that nobody could get there again, to keep people out, so people couldn't get there, because he didn't want them eating from the tree of life, right? They got kicked out of the garden. Think about all of the Google Earth shit that we've seen in Antarctica. Think about that giant creature that we've seen in Antarctica on Google Earth. Okay, now I don't know if y'all have seen that image. I did a couple paranormal news episodes on the channel about it. It's this gigantic fucking thing. It looks like a person, but it is humongous, like probably 500-600 feet tall. It's crazy big, right? Then think about angels in the Bible. Think about the Nephilim, which were the giants, okay? The Nephilim came about in Genesis 6 from angels mating with human women. And the result of that was the giants. Now think about this. When the giants first came, the first generation, they were about 400 or 500 feet tall. Okay? That's what the Bible says. If you do the translation from cubits to feet, it doesn't matter. They're about that big. Not when they were born, obviously. They grew that big. Now think about this. In order for something to be that tall, we know how big the human women were. They were human-sized, right? So how big did the angels have to be? Or how big were the potential for the angels to be? For the giants to be that big? That must mean that angels could be gigantic. And there's actual evidence of that in the Bible, that sometimes when angels appear, they appear as people, just like us. But other times when they're in their real form, their true form, they are gigantic. And they are crazy looking. They've got wings over here and there. They've got freaking eyeballs everywhere. They're nuts, right? They're absolutely insane looking. Now, there's a bunch of different kinds of angels. We're not going to get all into the weeds on this shit. But just the important part is how big angels could be. How big the Nephilim were in the beginning. Each generation, they got smaller because they kept mating with humans. So that original giant angel DNA, right, that made them so large in the beginning, started getting diluted. And the more it got diluted, the less angel there was in that mix, the smaller they got, until they got to like the size of Goliath, which was around 12, 13 feet. But they were way bigger than that in the first generation. So is it possible that thing that we've seen on the Google Earth photographs of that gigantic creature, is it possible that that might be photographs of the angel that God placed at the gates of the Garden of Eden to keep mankind out? And could it be the reason why so many countries are trying to go to Antarctica all the time is to find the Garden of Eden so they can find the Tree of Life, just like Old Boy said? Because think about it. You had scientific missions to Antarctica before, but not until recent time did you have all of these people going absolutely crazy trying to get to Antarctica. An arms race to Antarctica, basically. That's a modern phenomenon. Not until we started being able to look there with satellite imagery and stuff like that did that start happening. The only example of it before that, other than like explorers that just wanted to explore and see what the hell was there, was the Nazis, believe it or not. They had an interest in all things occult and spiritual. They went after the Spear of Destiny. That's the spear that pierced the side of Christ. They went after a lot of those relics. And if there was any kind of legends that talked about that being a possible location for the Garden of Eden, in any of those old scrolls and old stuff that they found, because remember, they looted all of Europe, all the old libraries, all that shit. So there could have been some old manuscripts there that talked about it, that they took, that we never knew because they got destroyed. And we don't even know they exist. Then maybe they talk about the fact that they think the Garden of Eden might be there. Maybe that would explain the Nazis' interest in Antarctica and why they would be wanting to go there and try to find it, you know? I think that technologically it was beyond their capability at the time, but who knows? They were working on rocket technology. That's where we got the idea for the atomic bomb, is from the Nazis. I mean, they were way ahead of their time, so who knows? But it's very interesting to think about. And the fact that all of the continents were continent at that time is interesting, because that would also explain why you have pyramids, all different areas of the earth that are similar, and megaliths that are similar. Because maybe when they were built, they weren't on all kinds of corners of the earth. Maybe when they were built, it was one big landmass, and it was one large civilization. And maybe part of those continents splitting apart was the fact that all of these people got together and they were building all of these pyramids and megaliths and everything. And remember the story of the Tower of Babel. They were trying to build a tower that could reach heaven. And God didn't like that. So what did God do? He confused their language and he split them all apart. That's what the Bible says. He scattered them across the world. What better way to scatter them across the world than to break that one continent up into a bunch of little continents and have it float off here, float off there, float off everywhere? And while he's at it, good way to hide the Garden of Eden that might have still been connected. Because remember, when they talk about it in the Bible, it's still connected. They got kicked out, but it's still there. That's why he had to put an angel there to guard it, so nobody could get back in. If it was far away where they couldn't get to it, there would be no need to put a guard there. You only put a guard somewhere if somebody can get there to get in. So it makes perfect sense. And who knows what the pyramids were actually used for? What if the pyramids are some sort of remnant of the original Tower of Babel? What if they are like the footers? Like when you're going to build a big structure, you pour a foundation, concrete foundation, and you have footers that you can run your beams and all that stuff on. What if that's what the pyramids were some sort of foundation of the construction? That's interesting, isn't it? Because remember, not all pyramids are like this. Like the ones of the Aztec are more like this. They go up, and then they kind of go like this. And they got stairs going down. So that's a perfect foundation. Even the Great Pyramid and the pyramids in Egypt, yes, they go up like this, and they theorize that they were once covered in like a limestone or something and painted and smooth, but we don't know that for sure. Right now, they look like steps. Like you could literally walk up the sons of bitches if you were big enough. What if that's what they were? What if what we're looking at with the pyramids is part of what's left of the Tower of Babel? Wouldn't that be interesting if you have like all these footers and they went up from there trying to reach heaven, God split it apart, so now you have the different footers on different continents all over the world instead of being all together where they're supporting a larger structure. Maybe that's absolute horseshit, who knows? But it's sure as hell interesting to think about. I don't know enough about engineering to know if that would be a possibility. I know that you can't build on this. Okay, you can't put something on top of that and have it stay really well. The only way you could do that is if you're doing some kind of like almost like you build a log cabin where you notch it out and you fit it together, like a tongue and groove kind of deal. If you had something that was almost like a ball joint that would fit on the peak of that pyramid to hold it in place, maybe that technology is what they did. Because the triangle is a very, very strong shape. So the triangle would hold a hell of a lot of weight. It's a very good shape. And if you could have a way to secure something in like that to lock it in place, it's a possibility. I mean, they do it with log cabins now. You know, it's not that exact shape, but it's like a U that's cut out and it's laid on top of the other log and it stacks up. Like Lincoln logs, like you everybody played with those when you were kids. Same shit, you know. But that's a very, very interesting theory and a very interesting idea because it fits. And it would make sense because people nowadays still can't figure out where the hell the Garden of Eden is. They talk about, well, maybe it's over here, maybe it's over here in Africa, maybe it's over here in the Middle East, maybe it's here. And they think they know because all these rivers supposedly came from the area and they can pinpoint where they think it was, but it doesn't match exactly. And what if it did then, when it was one big continent? What if it matched perfectly then? And what's left of it is gone. You know, it got shot down to the bottom of the earth in Antarctica. it's a decent theory. Let me know down in the comments section when this hits YouTube what you guys think about it. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of a good little theory. So anything else you want to say about that one, old boy?
Actually, that would probably be what I was thinking. Or the other thing is, how there's other pyramids other places. One thing I was going to say is, or it could have been something that used to protect us at one time. That's why we have them in different places of the world. There's different pyramids. It was some kind of like it had like a force shield or something maybe, and it was in different parts of the world. And this is the alien theory that's what happened. They used to, and we ended up that's how we end up becoming their slaves at one time. But there's different pyramids. Was that some kind of like either a beacon or like maybe a shield that went over the earth for something try to attack us at one time or something? It's just another theory I was thinking about, because that would be another thing with the pyramids. Why do they look like that? And you got another point. It could be a part of Babylon. They were building it up, and they didn't just have one part. It never said there was more than one. Maybe they were building them all over the world at that time, and he split them all over the place. I'm just throwing, that could be a theory too. He's right. But other than that being said, I think we've pretty much covered a lot of Antarctica. I don't have too much else to say. I mean, we've done the show. It's about an hour, right?
Yeah, I think we're about an hour in, something like that, close.
Yeah, I'll do my shout outs. And so I want to thank everybody for listening to us on Staring in the Abyss on Parax Radio every Sunday nights, 12 a.m., 9 Pacific. The Best of Show Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, Tuesday nights. I think on the late night, on the first showing on Sunday, it plays into Monday, the double show. It just plays it again and again and again. And then they play another show after that. So we get the whole time after that, I think, about 5 hours. So you'll be able to listen to all that all the time if you want to stay up all night. And if you're in another country, you can hear us. So that's always neat. So thank you for us on Spotify, on YouTube. Follow James Hershey on his YouTube page. Always subscribe. Check us out on TikTok. Everything. We're everywhere. Everything. We're on everything now. Some way or another, James or me are on every part of social media. You'll find one of us or one of our people that we have in our groups. You guys want merchandise? He'll tell you where to go. Shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. And I don't want to keep on promoting that, but if you guys want something, because we are going to start doing something, but it has nothing to do with paranormal. We are going to start hitting into this horror thing. We can only talk so much about it, but I will say that we're going to maybe make the shirt soon, and you'll know what we're talking about if you've been watching TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. Other than that, I hope you guys are having a good weekend almost, and it's almost summer's over. It's going to be spring, even though it's going to be fucking 90 next week again. And it was 70 this week. So beautiful. Now it sucks. But I love you guys, and I hope you have a good night. Misfits, Shoelays, Monster Lovers, Demon Hunters. I love you, and blessed motherfucking be.
This is the fun part of doing staring. I like shows where it's not like just on one particular thing, because they can lead anywhere, Like this show was interesting because we were kind of covering a lot of the main theories about Antarctica, and it ended up leading into something pretty cool. And what's interesting about it too is that the theory that got us there was not one of these crazy ass conspiracy theories that's bullshit. It was actually the one of these theories that we had for tonight that was true. The one about Antarctica being a civilization and tropical paradise and all that stuff at one time that led us to the idea of Eden and everything. And I think that's probably the most profound theory that we talked about on the show tonight, and probably the most important thing that we talked about tonight, because there's a lot of stuff that ties into that, One more thing real quick on pyramids. Nikola Tesla actually thought that pyramids were power generators, almost like batteries. And he developed a system of being able to pull energy from the air. And the pyramid played a big role in that. It's almost like a storage, a battery storage, and a capacitor, so they could suck that electricity right out of the air and store it and be able to use it. That was his theory, at least. I don't know if he ever actually built anything based on it. A lot of shit with Tesla sounds crazy until he actually does it, and then it works, and you're like, fuck, it worked? You know what I mean? Tesla was one of those guys that was just beyond genius. He was beyond anybody of his time and really ever on Earth. I mean, he's will go down in history as one of the top minds that this planet's ever had. And I'm no slouch. I'm a pretty smart guy. But there's some stuff that Tesla talked about and did that it's beyond me. I just can't understand it completely. I can get the basic concepts, but understanding how it would work is beyond me. Because I never have had the engineering background. That's my problem. I'm great at theory. I'm great at coming up with ideas and doing that kind of stuff. But I don't build a whole lot of stuff very well. You know, I'm a redneck. I can build stuff, but not to code, if that makes sense. Like I'm not big on engineering principles and all that kind of stuff. So I might invent something cool, but I'm not going to be building what I invent if I want to survive testing it. You know what I mean? I'll get somebody else to build it. But that's one thing that pyramids could have been also, is some sort of energy generation technology, according to Tesla. You know, I don't know if that's true or not true. All I'll say is Tesla was damn smart. And if he says that he thinks that there was a reason for that, then I'd at least be willing to listen to it if I could find information about what he actually said. You know what I mean? Like find some actual quotes about it. The problem is he's not around to talk to. So you'll probably never actually know. Because in today's world, too many people talk too much shit. They'll say, oh, yeah, I know all about it. And they'll start telling you a story about it. And then half the time they're full of shit. That's the problem. That's literally what we've been talking about all night, is most of these theories are just made up bullshit by somebody who is trying to make money off of it, trying to sound important or something. So they make up some bullshit story, and then it goes around and gullible people believe it, you know? And that's how unfortunately, most of the paranormal world has gotten that way, you know? And real quick, something was touched on, I think on our last episode of We're Screwed, that was actually interesting, that applies here. Andy, we were talking about it, and Andy said, what if we are getting so close to actually proving the existence of an afterlife, and thus proving the existence of God and all that kind of stuff? What if we're getting so close to that the reason why there's so much ridiculous nonsense in the paranormal field now is intentional? What if that's their way of discrediting everything paranormal so that people just don't care anymore? They won't listen to anything we have to say, because they're just like, these are the same idiots who think that the world is flat, or these are the same idiots who think this or that or the other thing, some dumb bullshit. That makes sense to me, you know, because it kind of ebbs and flows. What happens is you have paranormal researchers who are scientists, essentially, and we're trying to prove something. We're trying to prove the existence of the afterlife, trying to gather as much data as possible and show people, say, look, this is what we've got. So that's all you have for a while. Then somebody finds something pretty good that's pretty interesting and makes people go, hey, maybe there is an afterlife. That's interesting. Let's look at this. So then it starts to get popular. Then you have all these idiots that come into the field that don't know anything, who just talk a bunch of shit and make up a bunch of nonsense. The field blows up for a little while. All of these idiots ruin it. And then nobody takes it seriously anymore. Everybody's, it's horse shit. Get out of here. It's nonsense. So then everybody leaves the field again. And then it's back down to just the real researchers again for a while. And it'll go on like that until one of those researchers finds something interesting again that makes everybody pay attention and say, whoa, wait a minute, what is that? Well, maybe there is an afterlife. And then it starts to get popular again, and the cycle repeats. But what if that cycle repeating is actually intentional? What if as soon as we find something important that could prove the existence of an afterlife, thus proving the existence of God, what if people are like, screw that, we got to do something about that. Go in there and discredit it. You know, that doesn't seem so far-fetched when you think about the fact that that's literally what our government does on a daily basis. Is whenever there's somebody that doesn't agree with them, they send people into that group, whatever it is, to say crazy shit, to discredit them and make everybody not take them seriously. That's literally like government 101. That's what they do all the time. So that makes perfect sense to me. And it's interesting how we talked about this tonight, and it ended up in this place where it was never going to go, supposedly, because we were talking something completely different. But we end up talking about Eden, and we end up talking about all this stuff, and it ties in perfectly with our episode last night of We're Screwed. Pretty interesting. Once again, God's perfect plan. It always works. It always works, old boy. All right, enough of that. Merchandise store. If you guys want merch, go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. Shameless plug, numero dos. In the description box of every video will be the link to the merch store if you want it. You don't have to buy it. I don't care if you do or don't. The reason it's there is because people asked us for it. And it got to the point where there was several people asking for it, quite a lot. So we decided to make some merch. We're going to do some We're Screwed shirts and We're Screwed merch and all that kind of stuff whenever I get around to doing it. I'm not just being lazy about it. I got a bunch of shit going on right now. We're possibly doing a movie at some point in the future. That's a possibility. That's one thing we're involved in right now that's taking up some time. I've got personal shit going on that my wife's mother just had to have an emergency surgery, and she's been taking care of her. So I've been driving like 100 miles a day, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, to try to make sure everybody's okay and got what they need and shit. So I'm a busy man right now, you know. And then I get on and do a couple shows a week that are like a couple hours long, and then I'm doing 5 or 6, you know, regular We're Screwed shorts a day, and I'm busy as hell. So I'll get around to it. If y'all want the merch that bad, then just start bugging the shit out of me. And I guarantee you, if you start bugging the shit out of me, I'll get on it, because I don't like it when I get bugged. My wife figured that shit out a long time ago. She wants me to do anything. She just nags the shit out of me. And finally I go, all right, fuck it, I'll do it. Just to shut them up. You know what I mean? But that's it. That's the show. Hope you guys liked it. Let us know down in the comments section when this hits YouTube what you guys think about that idea. That's a cool idea of Eden. I don't know exactly puzzle piece wise how it would fit together, if it would work. But also remember, if it's one big piece and it breaks up into a bunch of little pieces, you're not necessarily going to have every piece of all the pieces. Some of that shit's going to go down in the water. You know what I mean? Some of that shit's not going to fit right anymore, because pieces are going to just crumble away to dust and wash away. And then you got to think about erosion over time, all that kind of shit too, with the water, waves hitting it. But that's an interesting idea. I definitely like to look into that more and see, because that's, especially how it connects to that giant creature that we saw on the Google Earth. You know, that I always wondered what the hell that was. I'm like, why is there a giant monster in fucking Antarctica? That doesn't make any sense. I don't even know what the hell that thing is. That's weird. You know, but kind of makes sense with that, doesn't it? All right. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Till I speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.
In order for the light to shine so brightly, the darkness must be present. Tune in every Monday at 10 o'clock for Dark Sun Rising on the Para-X Radio Network.
Throughout time, events have occurred that have shaped human history. Spirit voices from the past have many stories to tell, and for the past several years, channelers Barry and Connie Strom have been conducting live channeling sessions and relaying those stories and messages from those on the other side. We invite you to tune in to Barry and Connie's show, Channeling History, on the Para X Radio Network every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, as they relay the messages of those voices from the past, the ones who have witnessed history firsthand, and those who have made history themselves.